guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a GM instrument cluster from a 2004 Chevy Tahoe. And basically what happened is that the needles, the stepper motors that control the needles stopped working. I think there was maybe one working, and almost all the lights are out. And I don't know what happened here, but there's another lens to go on it. So anyway, I'm gonna go over a few tips for taking this apart and going over some repairs. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, the first thing we want to do is you want to gently turn all the needles as far back as they'll go, counterclockwise. I suppose you could do it clockwise too, but I've just always done it this way. And what you want to do is take a grease pen, because it's easy to clean off. It's like I guess it's a tire marker pen or whatever, but it's a grease pen. It's kind of like a crayon. You could probably use a crayon. I'm not really sure how easy it would be to accidentally wipe it off, but you're going to carefully mark the zero position of the needle, like so, on each one. And double check everyone to make sure it's in the rested position. That one was a little off, so I'm going to do it again. This marker is a little bit more. Let's see here. There we go. Alright, so once you've done that, you don't want to pull the needles directly off just straight up. What you want to do at this point is you're going to take and you're just going to continue pushing it down until it's loose. It's not kind of seized from where it's been on there for a long time. So then what you're going to do is twist it while it's spinning on the shaft, and then it comes right off. It's really easy. As you can see, at first it's kind of stuck, because it's been on there for a while. If you try to pull it straight out, it'll just usually break the servo. So all you gotta do is just put a little force on it. It'll pop loose, spin it around a couple times, and as you're turning it, just put a little bit of upper pressure on it. It comes right off. Alright, so once you've removed all the needles, you're gonna gently remove the faceplate. Some of these are glued down. This one wasn't. It had some little plastic tabs sticking through it. Just kind of clipped on it a little bit. But you're going to remove that. That way when you need to remove the board, which we're about to do, there's nothing holding it. The needles are keeping it from coming apart. Some of these little plastic springs are not attached to the peg, so you want to make sure you don't lose that. That's to reset your mileage. Then we're going to come to the back side. We're going to release all these clips around the outside of this and separate the housing. Alright, once the clips are removed, you'll be able to lift the board out. There shouldn't be anything else holding it in. So we'll get that in here. And these are the servos or stepper motors. And basically they just quit working. So they're sitting flush on the board, and from the back side you got these 4 solder points right here, and then an alignment pin. Actually these have 2 alignment pins. I've got a replacement motor here so you can see it off the board, and there's really not that much to it. So anyway, I'm going to get the soldering equipment set up, and I'll show you how to swap them out. Alright, so this is the old Benford 9000 desoldering station. I picked this bad boy up on eBay about, I don't know, probably 3 years ago. And it's got an air line coming from the compressor, and it includes a vacuum generator inside, this fancy gun, and of course I've got other soldering pins that I can hook up to this thing. They don't have to all have this big vacuum tip on it. But basically the tip's hollow, and it's got like a little cylinder inside that you clean out, but you heat the solder up And it just takes it right off the board. I'll show you one or two. Move this just a little bit closer. So all you gotta do is slide that over that pan, heat it up, give it a little movement, and as you can see, that is cleaned out. Now, I know not everybody's got one of these, but I do, and I'm gonna use it. I'm not ashamed. Yeah, that took me about 15 seconds, which is about 5 seconds longer than it should have because holding the camera. But as you can see, the solder joints are loose, and the alignment pin was kind of stuck. But I mean, that's it. When you have this tool, this is a super easy job. Gonna do the same thing with the other servos, replace those. I can't use this on the bulbs because they don't go through the board. They're surface mounted, so I'm gonna have to swap out to another pin to put those on after I get done with the servo motors. But yeah, when you got this bad boy right here, and they make other brands that are much more affordable when you buy them new. Or you can look for one of these that's used. It's a very awesome thing if you do any decent amount of soldering. This is an amazing thing to have. So, but anyway, I'm gonna work on a couple more of these. Hopefully the camera angle's good enough, and we'll go from there. Next one's right here. Amazing, right? This is like one of the coolest soldering instruments you can ever have. I'm talking about that is just unbelievably easier than trying to use a traditional solder sucker or some desoldering braid, any of that kind of stuff. How about that? That took probably a minute and a half doing a demonstration. So you could imagine I probably could have desoldered all those at one time, popped them all off the board in probably less than a minute, to be honest with you. I've done it. So I wish the bulbs were the same way. These bulbs would be way easier to deal with if they fed through the board also, but you know, GM, that's all I can tell you. Anyway, I'll get set up with some replacements and we'll get back at it. Alright, so now we're ready to start installing the replacement motors. So here we go. Just gotta make sure you get the alignment pins correct. Slide these things right in the holes. And they kind of snap into place so you don't have to worry about them falling off. Sometimes you have to carefully manipulate the wires. You don't want to bend them over, and you just gotta start over. Hopefully not break them off. There we go. And you want to double check again to make sure they're all seated. Just make sure they're all completely flat on the board. You're going to flip it over. And you can see the solder points here. Alright, now you can see that I switched over to my medium pin. And all we got to do now is just come in, heat the joint up, introduce a little solder, make sure it soaks in good, and that's pretty much all that's left. Just got to make sure these things really get just hot enough to soak into the board on the contacts. If not, probably won't work. I'm soldering this at about 620. I'm going to check these out up close. Make sure everything looks good. And they look pretty good. They all look smooth. You want the solder to look smooth and flowy. That way you know it's soaked into the board, or onto the contacts on the board. So we're good to go there. So now I just got to hook some power up to this thing, power up the lights, and we're going to change those out. That way we can verify that the replacements work and this thing will be done. Alright, now I'm testing the lights. I've already replaced 4 of them. As you can see, those work. We still have these 4 over here that are not working. So pretty much there was only one working, I think, on the whole board. So I'm going to change out these 4 right here. These are the turn signals. They're working. And this is an indicator also, it's working. And so that's all that's left is these 4 right here. All you do is just apply a little pressure to the bulb. Heat the solder joint just a little bit. It's just kind of tight on some of these things, but you can lift them right off. And then I test every single bulb because you never know, even new ones. So I'm using a 9-volt battery just to make sure everything works. All I gotta do is put a little bit of solder on here. So you can get a thermal transfer. Alright, so that one's stuck. And that one's stuck. I'll check the circuit again just to double check it. Triple, quadruple check it. Now that one's good. And all I gotta do are these 3 right here. And then we'll move on to putting the needles back on. Alright, now we got all the electronics repaired. As you can see, got all the new bulbs for the backlighting. Everything works. We got our back portion of the case here. We're just going to sit that right back down in there. And we're going to bring this guy up here. I was going to point out, if you're doing an LED conversion, which I didn't obviously do on this, but You don't really have to take the front completely off. You just have to remove the needles if you're just going to repair the lights. Now what I would do normally, if I'm doing an LED conversion, I like to use LED strips. And most of these clusters you can use 3 12-inch LED strips. I don't have any right now to show you, but basically what I would do is line them around the edges of this all the way around, and you have to kind of, sometimes you have to modify them. You know, like on this one you would probably need to cut these little separators out, but you could just line them around, and all you have to do is just take all the backlight bulbs off of the board completely. You don't need them anymore, and you can solder the leads to your LED strips to these places. You just have to double check your polarity. So basically you could just solder the end of one of the LED strips right there, bring it around wherever the next one starts. You know, you could solder it here, for example, bring it around, and then the next one starts, you know, somewhere in this area. You could solder it to this portion and bring it the rest of the way around. And then when you put your lens back on, you know, it'll light up very evenly. If you try to do a LED conversion with the stock bulbs, the LEDs are so bright that you end up having hot spots. So you'll have spots in the instrument cluster that are really bright, and then it dims out in between the lights, like it's really obvious where they are. So on instrument clusters especially, I love to use LED strips. So anyway, I'll get this reset peg put back in place, and then we'll lay our front back on here. And this one, like I said, just clips down. There's just a few things that hold it in place. I think that's it. So I'm going to put the camera down here. And what you're going to want to do is use your reference marks, and pretty much this is common sense, but you'll kind of turn it a little bit and push down on it. You know, you can't push it all the way down to where it's against the face of the gauges. You got to make sure that it can turn. And so what you're going to do then is turn it counterclockwise all the way until the point that you feel the servo itself stop. And then you'll gently bring this thing around, and you're going to stop exactly where you left your mark. Just like that. Now you can see how that lined back up with the mark. Okay. So we're going to do that on all of the needles, and then I'll clean this up and wipe off the grease pen marks, and then it's ready to go. And that's really the best way to be able to make sure that you get it back in calibration, because these servos are going to behave the same way. I've never had a problem doing it this way. And there's been a few that I've been brought before that had been previously repaired, and somebody didn't line them up right. So in that situation, you basically have to plug them up to the truck and just run the truck and basically test everything and make sure they're in the right place. But for the most part, if you've done this a few times, you already know about where this is. I mean, honestly, I could have probably done this perfectly without leaving any marks, just because of how many times I've done it. You get a feel for where the zero position is. I mean, it's pretty much the exact same place on every one of them. So if you're dealing with one that is off and you didn't mark it before you took it apart, you can pretty much use this as a guide. You know, from your zero line, or your lowest line, you're probably going to be about 1/4 of an inch roughly past that line on just about every gauge. So If you do that, you'll be extremely close. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. I wanted to say thank you to my subscribers. We hit a little bit of a milestone. So we're over 100 subscribers now. So I want to say thank you. And we've got a lot more content coming. So I'd appreciate it if you would like and subscribe, comment, and you know, if you like what you see, share it. Let other people know about it. So thanks for watching. See you next time.